It's London, it's data, and it's big. This is Big Data London, and Scott Taylor, the Data Whisperer, is sitting down with conference chair Mike Ferguson, as well as the VP of Sales of Pyramid Analytics, Peter Walker. Let's hear what they have to say. So, Mike, I know you've talked about how technology can be as fickle as fashion. So what are some of the best dressed data leaders wearing this season?
They definitely got their Gen AI suits on, no doubt about that. There's lots of people wandering around calling themselves AI agents at the moment. There seems to be modern data architecture is a pretty hot space, that they're looking at. And I think as well, the whole democratization of, all of this towards, domain-oriented citizen data engineers, citizen data scientists, and the adoption of generative AI in there to help, widen the use of a lot of this kind of tooling.
There's probably an emperor's new clothes analogy in there somewhere.
Don't ask me what I'm wearing next year, though.
Okay. How do you see this, the idea of converged analytics really taking shape in the space today?
Well, I think historically we've had a problem. In the past, what we've done is had siloed analytical systems. So we've had maybe streaming analytics over here, then we've had data science with a data lake over there, we've got a data warehouse, and we've had graph databases and graph analytics. I think that's coming down. We're tearing down the silos and really beginning to get towards the ability to create shared data products across multiple analytical workloads. So I think there's a number of things happening there, things like open table formats. So, platforms like Pyramid can sit on top of that, take advantage of data products in that environment, and then bring together these different analytical workloads. Whereas in the past, we couldn't mix and match them. I think Converged Analytics is going to allow us to mix and match them. So the ability to use a co-pilot with machine learning and also graph analytics, or do things we've not been able to do before, graph analytics and machine learning, because, increasingly now these things are becoming part of SQL standard and stuff like that of the queries that we're generating. And so that really opens up a whole opportunity of brand new insights, and of course the ability to, embed all of that, into applications and processes around the enterprise as well. So, it's an exciting time, and I think we're really at the beginning of that whole space.
Finally be able to cut across all those vertical silos with some horizontal value.
That's what's really going to deliver maximum value. And anyway, also the output of data science is the input to the business analysts. They want to leverage all of that stuff that data scientists create. And not much point creating all this stuff if we can't maximize the value out of it. And I think Converged Analytics is going to make that happen. So we can kind of get what Peter and I have talked about a lot, which is the whole idea of mass contribution to strategic outcomes.
Peter, if you can elaborate a little bit on that, how Pyramid Analytics brings that value across the enterprise.
What we're seeing is, in terms of a convergence of analytics, is those different flavors of challenge that exist within enterprises today need to be addressed not by multiple tools, but by the potential of what a broad platform offer can deliver, combining a multitude of access to operational sources, modeling appropriately so that it's analytics ready, and then delivering the opportunity for citizen data scientists, business analysts, and consumers across enterprises, whether they be inside the firewall or outside the firewall, out to the public domain, customers, partners, suppliers, the general public, to be able to receive insight that's data-driven, that means that they can optimize their actions and their activities on a day-to-day basis without really needing to worry about the actual data side. That's being managed automatically. We're ensuring that all of the stakeholders, wherever they may be located, with whatever experience they'd like to receive insight, are able to do their day-to-day job and leverage data to maximum effect.
The idea of being able to bring the right insight to the right folks at the right time, regardless of where they are in the organization.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone needs a different experience because they've got different personas, different roles, and as a result, they've got different access to the data that means that they can do their job efficiently and effectively. That can be determined at a strategic level by the enterprise, but at the same time, enabling self-service for those consumers to be able to interpret the data in the way that suits them in order that they can get their job done.
Mike, I love always in your keynotes, you always bring it back to the idea and the need for data governance and data management. How does that play in this, and how do we make sure that folks who are using pyramid analytics are able to pull from that source of truth?
It's vital, really, because whether you're building, machine learning models with pyramid on the data science side, or whether you're, a business analyst or just a consumer, we can't do this on inconsistent data. You just, the most important thing here is it really does have to be rock solid if you're going to trust it and have the confidence to use it to make, really critical decisions, whether those decisions are even automated at the operational level, whether they're tactical or whether they're strategic. But, if you're going to do that on, by standing on quicksand of inconsistent data, we're in trouble, right? So to me, it's absolutely critical that we get that foundation right.
I often say, why do you think they call it a foundation? Peter, adoption is key. So if you can share some anecdotes possibly about how pyramid analytics has helped drive adoption at a typical enterprise.
The adoption challenge has always been there. I've been in this space for 25 plus years, and it's always been that significant challenge. Most enterprises have typically got anywhere between 15% to 30% of their employee base covered from an analytics adoption perspective. And so in terms of latest generation from Pyramid, we've delivered the capability through our Gen BI offer to enable different experiences at different levels within an organization to really drive significantly greater adoption, whether that be at the business analyst, analytics developer angle, by we can leverage generative BI to enable developers and business analysts to create dashboards in a phenomenally swift manner versus previous experiences. And then furthermore, the end user consumer being able to leverage generative BI to have conversations with the data. They don't have to understand the back-end data and how it's structured. They just need to know in conversation what they'd like to get out of the data in order they can do their job. And so having an iterative conversation, leveraging generative BI is something that we offer. We're agnostic in terms of the LLMs that we're able to leverage, which I think is really important, especially as we see the emergence of LLMs more and more, and will continue to do so. And so being agnostic in that respect is key. And then furthermore, ensuring that the self-service that we're delivering out to the different stakeholders is governed. And so, yeah, all handled very capably within the Pyramid platform.
Gen AI, Gen BI, what's next? Gen CI, maybe? No. We'll stop at BI. Peter, can you share some, you can name names if you like, but some key clients and customers you've worked with and how you've really, Pyramid Analytics really brought value to them?
What we're seeing in particular is a real need for broad enterprise use case analytics scenarios being addressed rather than single use case scenarios. And that means that large enterprises are having to tackle demands from every angle of their business, whether that be the traditional form of operational analytics to more specific supply chain analytics, marketing analytics, sales analytics, financial analytics, etc. But in particular, wanting to extend that out to a broader audience. In the manufacturing space, in particular, a great example, a prospect, as it was at the outset, was challenged by having adopted multiple tools over multiple years. They realized they weren't getting the scale, they weren't getting the value from the data that they held, and they needed to modernize their platform proposition as it related to analytics. So approached Pyramid, and initially were just focused on delivering analytics for their enterprise internally within their organization across multiple countries to enable them to drive greater efficiencies across sales, marketing, finance, supply chain, etc. But then when we started talking to them about the potential to extend that even further, their dealers, their distributors out in the different markets how could they leverage insights in a way that meant that they were still connected to them as a manufacturer, but able to deliver more value out to their customers in each of those geos. And so doing so in an embedded format is something that they were able to leverage, and as a result drive significant gain. We're seeing a number of examples within retail, in particular store-based analytics, so enabling people within stores to make quick decisions that are driven by insights from their data that mean they're optimizing the opportunity to sell more products ultimately. But by delivering that in a way whereby they don't need to have experience of using a tool, experience of data, it's just there. It's delivered to them in a form, whether it be embedded within an application, in a portal, or as a service generally. They're able to access that insight and ultimately drive the value right at the point in time that they need it, for when the customers need it as well. And in return, in that example, that also impacts supply chain. If they're able to see the impact of what they're doing day to day and make that decision that ultimately impacts the customer, at the same time, they can impact the organization themselves in terms of where their supply chain needs to be optimized in order to serve that customer base. Across multiple geos, again, across multiple retail experiences and a broad product range, that's particularly complex, and it needed a platform like Pyramid in order to deliver it.
That multi-tier situation can get very complicated very quickly when you've got different parties, which are essentially separate enterprises, trying to share the same insight.
Very much so. And so when we break that down, we look at sort of three core components. So there's the data component, there's the content component, and then there's the experience component. So from a data perspective, being able to connect directly, high-performing connections to any operational source, being able to model that data appropriately and deliver content that's tuned to the different personas, the different experiences that individuals are expecting dependent on their roles within an organization or outside the firewall with their customers, partners, and suppliers. And then that experience again becomes tuned. How do I deliver that experience to those different personas in order that they can consume that appropriately, in order that they can make a decision or take the next best action? And so they're the three core elements that we've been focused on within the platform that we enable organizations to leverage.
Those kind of business benefits really seem applicable to almost any kind of enterprise.
We're seeing opportunities come at us, and we've delivered on those opportunities across almost every single vertical, in every single geo, and at different ranges in terms of customer adoption. From relatively small use cases, it could be 50 user requirements, all the way up to hundreds of thousands, and in some cases millions of users. Especially public domain orientated analytics, embedding Pyramid discovers within a web page for a large financial institution in order that their customers can interact with that data in real time and ultimately make the best decisions for them. So that's got a phenomenal reach, phenomenal level of adoption, and the critical factor is it's based on the latest and greatest data that's governed, but giving a self-service experience that means there isn't a push back onto the enterprise from a workload perspective. It's just there, and it's an easy to adopt experience, true self-service. And as a result, what tends to happen is we might start off with a few areas of an individual enterprise, and then the word will get out, and others will come to the core team and say, hang on a minute, I've seen what you're doing over in supply chain. Well, we'd like that in marketing, and we'd like that in sales, and actually we'd like to give our customers and our business partners a better experience. How do I do that? Well, Pyramid's the answer, and we're delivering on that every single day.
And clearly you have that scalability capability. So
limitless scalability. And ultimately, there's a combination of reasons why, but we've got the most modern data and analytics platform from a data prep, data science, and business analytics perspective. That means we're leveraging the latest and greatest code base. And as a result, we are not restricted in terms of enabling an organization to integrate to their existing assets, but at the same time, when those different assets need to change, we just repoint. And so significant opportunity there. At the same time as addressing complexity, we're making it easy. Every stakeholder within that journey from, source to screen, if you like, to have an optimized experience, leveraging AI across each of those different components of that journey, and focused on the strategic value that's required from the enterprise core initiatives, but also consuming the requirements on an ongoing basis that are ever changing from all of the users, internal or external.
How do enterprises balance kind of the human element with the idea of automated decision making?
Think of an enterprise as a pyramid in the sense that at the lower part of the pyramid, we have operations. Then we got tactical decisioning, and we got strategic decisioning.
You know, as a pyramid, it's probably the perfect shape. Yes.
Decision automation is more likely to be widely successful where there are literally hundreds of thousands of decisions that need to be made pretty rapidly in relatively mundane areas or pretty well-defined areas. So I think operational decision-making is very, very suitable for decision automation, where you can delegate responsibility to, to machine learning models and things like that to do that, or even to recognize a situation and alert or recommend to a human to make the final decision. But certainly I think that's probably where we're going to see the most of it. Yes, we may see some of that at tactical level and probably a little bit or more like the recommendations at the higher levels within the enterprise where the decision's left to the human. Today, fraudulent transactions, happening every day in banking. They're happening at millions per second, if you like, and you can't get a human in the loop. It has to be automated. These, to me, are repetitive decisions, and as long as Peter said, we're talking about solid governed data in a governed analytical environment, yes, we can get that right, and we can overcome those burdens and, make sure we keep, costs down, we lower risks, we improve efficiency, or seize opportunities as a result of some of those automated decisions or automated alerts and recommendations.
Mike, anything else you want to add on the future around decision support and analytics?
The one thing I would also say is, we often deliver insights and then maybe the human makes a decision or even it's automated. But what we don't seem to do enough of is record the decision that's made and understand the effectiveness of it. And I think that's where we're going to go next. We're going to record these decisions, look at the impact of them on the org, and are they actually improving the outcomes or not? And this is where I think reinforcement learning, which is reward oriented, and if you're putting out targets as the reward to get to as a business, and then we get into self-learning in the platform, then we're going to get progressively better at making decisions, so that, we optimize the business and exploit all this to the max.
How does that start to look when you record decisions? It seems really interesting, that idea of being able to look back and see whether something was done right or not. Or
you have to know, well, how do you know if it's effective or not, right? And I think that's really where we need to understand business strategy in the software, right? So to me, that's where we're looking at business plans, and we're looking at the accountability, target metrics, and whether or not the decisions are resulting in improvement of those metrics to reach those targets. Because if they're taking us in the other direction, then very, very clearly, it's not very effective. Good to spot that early, because at least then, you can police that, right? And similarly also, if it turns out that the data is indicating, actually, by the way, your objectives and your strategy are wrong, that's also a good idea to know early, right? But I do think it's linked to business strategy. And I think we in the future, what we're going to see is all of that coming together.
Wrapping up here, I'd love to hear from both of you. What's next? What do you think is next on the horizon? And how does Pyramid Analytics fit into that?
I still think we've got a long way to go with Gen AI. I think that's going to have a big impact on the number of concurrent users around the enterprise able to take advantage of this, as Peter talked about, with different roles around the enterprise. So that's really going to widen the number of users able to take advantage of this stuff. And I think, scaling that out and understanding it within the enterprise is really, really important. But I think the future is we have to not only look at data science, look at analytics, generative AI, embedded analytics, etc. But we have to coordinate it. We can't have these as just silos of stuff around the enterprise. It's really got to be coordinated and linked to business outcomes so that we get what I think I said earlier, mass contribution to common goals. Because, if everybody's pulling on the same rope within an organization, it's a darn sight more effective than if we're all moving in different directions. You know what I mean? So in that sense, I think we're going to see a lot more embedding going forward, a lot more integration with applications and processes, because people don't always get their insights, through tools. They need it built into their everyday workflow in their day job. And I think as Peter already alluded, it has to be seamless. The moment it's seamless, you don't even notice it, it's just there. That to me is really when we're getting into this opportunity for mass contribution and what I actually call intelligent business.
In terms of future state, I think certainly the human intelligence combined with artificial intelligence is something that we need to nurture. And we need to continuously learn as humans, as much as we're relying on machines. We have to continuously learn as to the art of what's possible. And so that thought leadership piece is key. And in particular, I see that being anchored around predictive orientated and prescriptive orientated analytics as being the sort of the next wave from a point of view of ease of adoption. We need to make it easier for adoption in that respect and make decisioning support and decision intelligence come to life. And so we're very focused in terms of our platform proposition on those key points of predictive and prescriptive, as well as descriptive and diagnostic, of course. But that's from a future state perspective, enabling citizen data scientists to leverage data in a way that they've never done before by combining human intelligence and artificial intelligence is going to be absolutely key. And the future's really bright.
Super. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your thoughts today. It was great talking to you. It seems like exciting times ahead for Pyramid Analytics and the whole data space. This is Scott Taylor, Data Whisperer, coming to you from Big Data London. We'll see you next time.